Hello, everyone. I jumped on a minute early here to let you all get in from the waiting room. Wow, we already got 22 of you who are jumped on in. 28, 33. Hello, everyone. So welcome. I'm going to bring Jason on in a few minutes, but I wanted to let you all get on in here into the webinar. So please let me know, first of all, that you can see me, you can hear me. Let me know that you are here. Say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Hey, Chris, you can see and hear me. Perfect. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Amber. Look at you all. Whee! This is exciting. I see you, Doug Shapiro. I see you. Paige says hi from Chicago. Oh my God, this is exciting, you guys. You are all tuning on in, and I'm excited that you're here because I cannot wait for you to hear what Jason has to say, right? This whole platform of virtual auditions and self-taping is our new normal as actors, and it is going to be for a very long time. So this is really important stuff that we're going to be going over today. So I'm really excited that you are all here. All right, so just a couple things, housekeeping things, before we dive on in. A lot of you are doing it already, but when you're in the chat, hey everyone, I can't even keep up with everyone saying stuff. We got Chicago, first of all, let me say this. We got Chicago in the house, we got Hollywood, we got NYC, my NYC peeps, I miss you. Northern California, Maryland, London, Chicago, guys, you're all over, I love it. Hey Jersey, hello, Red from Massachusetts. We just spoke this week. I love meeting other Massachusetts girls. I love it, hello. All right, team, yay Mass. Yes, Taylor's from Mass too. Bronx, San Diego. All right, this is awesome. Okay, so a reminder of how to use the chat, okay? When you are communicating to all panelists, only myself and Jason will see it. And he's probably not gonna be looking at it. And I'm probably not gonna be looking at it because I'm gonna be looking at the Q&A to make sure I get your questions answered. So when you are chatting to each other, make sure to chat to all panelists and attendees. That way all of you can see what each other is posting. So I always find the chat works better when you do that. Okay, so make sure to chat to all panelists and attendees. All right, we have Florida, we have Atlanta. Let's see, what else we got now? Fall River, hey Pamela. San Diego, Oklahoma, Santa Fe. Oh, this is exciting. What did Doug say? Doug said, housekeeping, someone's going to clean my house. Oh man, can someone please come clean my house? Okay, hey Sean. All right, so make sure once again, oh, Kim Stanville, I saw your email to me. I was just in the studio all day yesterday. I'll email you back today. Okay, and make sure to chat to all panelists and attendees. A lot of you are not doing that yet, and if you only chat to all panelists, only I'm gonna see it. So make sure to chat to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see on that. Now, I'm gonna bring Jason on in a minute. But when we dive on in, we have a whole structure that we want to talk about and share with you. But when you do have questions, I'm going to be monitoring the Q&A. So you'll notice in the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button. So when you have a question that you want answered, post it in there, and I'm going to field all those over to Jason. All right. All right, I think we're ready to do this. Oh, I love it. Dawn said, boogie down from the Bronx. Hello, DC, Baltimore. Hey, this is very exciting. This is very exciting. I'm glad that you're all here. All right, so let's dive on in because we got some shit to do. All right. Amber says this is about self-tapes, correct? Amber, you just tune into all my webinars. You're like, what's she talking about? Let's tune in and listen. Yes, what, Amber? She says I do. Haha. This is about the art and science of self-tapes and Zoom auditions. This is all about the virtual auditions that we are now doing as actors. So we're going to be talking about the self-tapes. We're going to be talking about Zoom callbacks. We're going to be talking about settings, everything. Okay, so we're going to cover it all in here of this new normal of actors, of how everything is virtual for us and how do we audition in this new box, right? So yes, that's what we're going to get into, Amber. All right, so I'm so excited that Jason is here. I'm actually in Jason's acting class right now. My manager had referred me to Jason, and I'm just loving what he does. So I really wanted to share him with my community. So Jason's an acting teacher and a coach. His clients and students include TV series regulars, film stars, Broadway vets, everything in between. He actually started his career as an actor in New York, and he now writes and directs for stage, screen, and television. He lives in WeHo with his wife Grace and his dog Atticus, who you might hear barking in the background as we go along. But I love it. So I will say this, now you got two people on a webinar with New York City energy. So we're going to go fast. We're going to talk fast. We might swear. I warn you now. So let us do this. So Jason, can you turn on your video?
Hey, Jody.
Hey, I'm going to put us in gallery view. There we go. Hi, Jason. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, and thank you for right off the bat giving me permission to swear, because that's half of my vocabulary right there.
Perfect. Let's do it. All right. So we got a lot to cover today, but let us start with self-tape strategies, right? Because the like Zoom callbacks and all that, that's the callback. So we need to start with the self-taping to actually get that. And self-tapes have been around for a bit, but what do you find? Because I'm sure you coach a lot of people on this. What do you find is the most important thing to have in place for these self-tapes?
Okay, well, the most important thing is you. That's the most important thing. It's easy to focus on all of the ancillary things. So it's easy to focus on the lights, the sound, all important. Mm-hmm. It's easy to focus on what you have to wear, what's in your background, all important, and we're going to address that. But the most important thing is you. What is it about you that brings this character to life in a way that nobody else can? And oftentimes in self-tapes, that gets kind of pushed to the side. Yeah. Because many of my clients are so concerned about how they look and this and that. Now, not so much when I'm in the room coaching them, but if they're doing it on their own, that's sometimes that personality gets lost. So that's the single most important thing. What do you do? Who does the character become because you play the character? That's huge.
I think we forget that, right? When we're home doing it, like we forget that. I think and I don't know why it feels so different sometimes approaching it, but it's the same thing. We get to bring ourselves to all of it.
This is what happens. I'm going to say 99% of the time is I'll tape somebody and then we'll watch it, which is key, everyone. We'll talk about that. Watch it before you send it in. We'll tape it, we'll watch it, and my client 99% of the time comments on the way they look. Oh, see, I don't like the way I look in this one, or I don't like this. And it's self-tape, okay? They've got hair and makeup for you. They've got wardrobe for you. They're not worried about, oh, you know what? That was the most incredible read I've ever seen, but that shirt, it was a little too busy. Let's not call her back. Like, that's not going to happen.
I know, but I do that all the time. My husband, of course. I'm like, but I don't like how I look in that. My face was in a weird angle. He's like, oh my God, stop.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, well, should we talk about equipment?
Let's talk about it.
That? Okay, let's talk about it. Yeah, let's start with that.
So let's talk about equipment. And everyone, just so you know, at the end of this, you don't have to take copious notes or anything, because I put together some PDFs that you'll all get that have links to things that you can look for. And I'm also sending you a Zoom guide and things like that. So don't worry about taking notes right now. Just pay attention. And feel free to disagree with anything I say. If I could recommend one book for everybody to read, it's Adventures in the Screen Trade by William Goldman. And on page 1, he says, here's the one thing that I know about Hollywood. Nobody knows anything. So everything I'm telling you right now, it's just my opinion from my observations. Take it with a grain of salt, because what you're doing now is probably working great. But let's talk about equipment. It's important that you can be seen and you can be heard. And the two things that enable that to happen are lights and sound. Okay, so your lighting's important. Right now, I have a 3-point lighting system going on. I've got a light over there, I've got a light over there, and I've got a light bouncing to provide me backlight. Okay, this is my office, so I don't have enough room behind me for a backlight. When I'm self-taping, I do it over there in the living room, and people have backlight. But providing that light source so that people can see me, I am the center of attention. That's important. Now, I'll be sending you a video on how do you set up 3-point lighting. If you don't have 3-point lighting, you can do it with 2 lights. If you don't have 2 lights, you can do it with a ring light. But the point is that you look good. You can use it with natural lighting on your window. Just don't make sure you're not blown out. But test it. Test it. You have to have a part of your home that is your self-tape area. Jodie has one. If you look behind her, she's got a blue wall. My blue wall is, and her lights. My blue wall is over there. So, I think like the red badge of courage for an actor is when somebody comes into their apartment and everything looks incredible, except for, why is there just like a stripe of blue over there on your wall? Like, it doesn't match anything. I'll tell you why, because I'm a working actor. It's because I've got a blue wall, because that's where I do my self-tapes. Okay, so your lighting has to reflect well off of you.
Yeah.
So do some tests to make sure it looks good. Second is your sound. First of all, this is all you need for a self-tape.
Mm-hmm.
All you need is your camera phone. That's it.
Totally.
Okay? You don't need to go and invest, $3,000 in a DSLR camera. You don't need to do any of that. All you need is a phone, okay? And that's the minimum. So if all you have is this, that's fine. That's fine, because it has a microphone right there. The problem is the microphone on your phone is pointed out that way. It's not pointed that way. So simple microphone you can get is something like this. This is a Shure microphone that clips right into your phone, just like this. And it points, and you can also change the direction. It points right at you.
Great.
Right? I have a link on this to where I'm sending you. I think it's about $150, but you can get cheaper ones. You can get much cheaper ones. You want a little life hack?
I used a Lav Mic, actually.
Yeah.
My Lav Mic was like $30, $35.
Yep. You can get a Lav Mic from Rode, Sennheiser, all those. And here's a little life hack. If you take the earphones that came with your phone, you can take the microphone, stick it through the buttonhole of your top button so that it comes out like this. I'm wearing snaps today, so that, oh no, there's one right there. So yeah, so you stick it right through here like this, okay? And now you have a Lav Mic. You stick it down your shirt, so this end comes out, and you just buy an extension of like 6 feet for one of these and plug it into your phone. And now you got a Lav Mic.
That's
and
brilliant.
it's simple. Yeah, simple. Now test it, make sure it sounds good. But yeah, Amber, it's a DIY mic.
DIY mic.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but you gotta sound good. You gotta make sure they can hear the natural timbre of your voice. What do you sound like? And one of the number one complaints from casting is I can't hear them, or the reader is louder than you are. Okay, and that's bad. That's really bad.
Well, I've trained my husband to speak softer before I had my Lav Mic when we were recording, but now he's continuing to do that when I have the Lav. So I've gotten complaints that they can't hear my reader. So now
that's another thing.
Right. So now with the Lav, you got to make sure your reader's loud enough.
Exactly. And again, it's testing. Think about it like when you all got your headshots. You didn't go in to get your headshots. They took one picture and then you left. Back in the day, when I was in New York and we still shot on film, you got like 4 rolls, 5 rolls. But now photographers take 300, 600 pictures, right? And out of 300 pictures, you might have 10 good ones. So you've got to practice, when do I sound good? How do I sound good? What are the adjustments I need to make? What's the distance? Like this microphone here, this isn't gonna pick up a distance of 15 feet. So I need to adjust how far I am from the subject that I'm shooting. And then natural light. When does your light look best? When does it look best? That's when you should shoot. If you can use natural light instead of artificial light, do it. But check. If it looks best at 6:30, shoot at 6:30. If it looks best at 5:30, shoot at 5:30 in the magic hour. But here's the caveat. We'll get to that when we get into the preparation. If the light looks best at 5:30, it's not going to look like that at 6:15. It's not going to look like that at 6:30. Right. So don't go up there thinking, oh, well, I'll just shoot for an hour and just take the best take, because then your light's going to change. And then the reason I say this is enough is because the camera on your phone is an excellent camera. If you have a phone that's been made in the last 3 years, it doesn't matter if it's a Galaxy, if it's an iPhone, whatever. It's a great phone. It's a great camera. So it's going to look really good. My recommendation is avoid using the zoom if you can. Okay, so the most you should zoom is 2 times. Once you start zooming more than 2 times, now you're degrading the quality of the video. So you want to be able to zoom by moving in with your tripod. Okay. Also, speaking of tripods, you need one of these. Okay. You need something that clips on. I put a link in this. A link for this. There's all different types. This one is a Manfrotto. I think it's like $20. You can get these that are $80. Why you would do that, I have no idea. So have the equipment and have it ready in what I like to call a go bag. Okay, I travel a lot. I average about 200,000 miles a year traveling around the world. This is the first year in 4 years that I haven't left the country, because of COVID. So, but I have a go bag for when I travel. I have a go bag that has all my toiletries, stuff like that, so I don't have to pack it. I just have a go bag. So you should have your go bag for your self-tape setup so that you're just ready to go. It sets up just like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
so that's the equipment.
I got this shade. It's actually a roller shade that I just pull down so I don't have to hang anything on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have to iron any cloth because I won't do it and it will frustrate me. So I bought this for ease. It's so important to have the space just ready. you know?
Roller shades are great. If you have the space for them, they're fantastic. You just put it right down, you know?
Yeah.
You got to look at it in two different ways. One is don't spend a fortune on this. But the second way is spend a fortune on it because it's your business, you know? So there's two ways to look at it. Split the middle. But, you know, you don't look for the cheapest headshot photographer.
Right.
You look for the headshot photographer that can represent who you are best. So it's your job in a self-tape to represent who you are to the best of your ability. That's it.
All right, we got a couple questions coming in that I want to get answered. But first of all, I want to say Alicia put in the chat, she said, wipe your camera phone lens. It's always a good reminder, Alicia, because I've done that once before. I was like, why
and look,
look terrible?
That's free. It's just like your shirt tail. There you go. Done. Free.
Easy. You don't need to buy a cloth. Fabulous. All right, I don't know. I don't have any insight into this. I don't know if you would, Jason. I know you don't coach singers normally, but Doug says any insight on which mic would be best for singing?
Okay.
You know, we have a lot of musical theater people now having to do singing self-tapes.
So I do coach some singers.
Okay,
I coach
great.
a lot of people on Broadway. So the microphone is key if you're singing, because the one on your camera, it's not great for that. So a simple Shure microphone, a Rode microphone, anything that is an omnidirectional microphone that allows you to change the cone that it picks up. So this mic, you can download software and you can shoot on that software, so you can actually change the radius that the microphone is picking up. Okay, so my suggestion is that, well, you can't do this right now, but if you go to a place like the Guitar Center, or if you go to Sam Ash Music or stuff like that, they have all these mics and you can test them. Now, they're open now. So you can test the microphones, put on some headphones and see which one sounds best with your voice. Because everything's different. But absolutely, if you're doing a singing audition, the microphone makes a huge difference, and you want it a little further away from your face. So you don't want to use a lavalier mic when you're singing. It's just going to blow it out.
Got it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I use a lav mic, and I had to do one singing audition. And when I used the lav, I was like, whoa. So I just chose to use nothing for that one because my voice carried. But it's a great point. And speaking of lavs, Katie says, I have a lav, but if I move, it picks up the sound of the clothes moving or into my clothes.
Yes.
Is there a way to place it where it doesn't pick up the sound of my clothes?
So now, yes, and it depends. So it depends what you're wearing. Here's the thing. You don't have to hide the lav mic. I'm going to repeat that. Yeah. You do not have to hide the lav mic, okay? It's not a performance. You're not on set. You're auditioning to show them why they should call you back. That's it. You're not auditioning for the role. You're auditioning for a callback. So you're auditioning to show them, hey, you know what? Who asked that question? Was it Katie?
Katie, yeah.
Katie. So Katie, you're auditioning for them. Say, you know what? That was really interesting and believable. And I could kind of see her in that role. Let's call her back to work with the director for 5 minutes to see how she takes direction, because she might be what we're looking for. That's what you're auditioning for. So the lav mic, if your clothes scrape on it, it is a grating noise. It's horrible. Everyone hates it. So worst case, you could put on a necklace and you can tape it to your skin. You know, so you can put on a necklace, you can attach the necklace, you could tape it to your skin with a little bit of tape, you could put it on the side of your clothes, clip it right here. But the most important thing is there's no easy fix. You got to test it. You got to see when I move here. And again, this is the difference between stage acting and film acting. There's a lot of technical aspects of film acting that you have to master. Otherwise, you're never going to get hired. Because if I'm directing something and it takes me 30 takes to get your close-up because you don't understand the technicality of a close-up on film, I'm never going to hire you again. Because I love you as an actor, but you're taking up too much of my time. So you've got to test, where's that microphone? And if I move like this, it makes noise. Here's what you do. Don't move like that.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, Doc, it hurts when I do this. Don't do that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Yeah,
so you got to limit what you do.
Because it hits the mic, right? So
exactly.
It's even like the movements that you can make.
And how many times have I been on set with somebody and we got them mic'd up, and in the moment they like hit their chest. It's like, cut, can't use that take. You got a microphone on there, Charlie. You can't hit your chest. You know.
Got to be aware. So. Yeah, Dana just says top stick or mic tape. Totally. I've taped my lav mic to my skin a lot. So yeah, that works really well.
Yeah. Now that being said, don't broadcast, hey, here's my microphone. Like, if you can wear a top that's a little higher, you know, you don't want them staring at your microphone, okay? Don't make your microphone the star of your self-tape, okay?
Don't clip it in your hair like a hair clip. That would be bad. Okay. Does the clip Jason showed for the cell phone work with a regular camera tripod? Oh yeah, the
Yes,
iPhone.
yes. So
Yeah.
if you look at the bottom right here, so this is the part that clips in. This unscrews. Okay, so this screws into that. All right.
Love
So this is what you'll normally buy. It may come with the attachment, it may not, but it will fit on the attachment that came with your tripod.
Yeah.
Now, again, here's the life hack. If you don't have a tripod, that's fine. All you got to do is build up a stack, and you just lean your camera against a book like that. Now, do I recommend that? No. But if you don't have a tripod, maybe you're at your parents' house because it's COVID. Maybe you're on location, maybe you're on vacation, and you didn't bring a tripod with you. Well, just find a way to make it work, and keep working with it to make it look as good as you can.
I love it.
That's the idea. Yeah.
And Jason, just to clarify, and for those of you maybe who just tuned in, Jason is sending out PDFs. Well, I'll be sending out a follow-up email tomorrow, which will include a replay of this, so you can watch it again, and it will include all these amazing PDFs that Jason will be sharing with you. I will also include in that my self-tape PDF, so you can see my equipment that I use as well. So we got you covered, so you don't have to write all these things down right now. I know some people were asking that. A couple other mic questions, and we'll move on because we got a lot to cover. Let's see. People say they have a Lav Mic, and when they plug it into their iPhone, this is Eve, she keeps getting this low-grade buzz when she records, and she hasn't been able to figure out how to get rid of it. Any insight in that?
Well, I don't know what kind of mic it is, and I also don't know what the room tone is. So the low-grade buzz might be your refrigerator. It could be anything that's being picked up in the room. That's why when you're on set, they always take room tone before or after you shoot, because there's just room tone in general. So it could be that. It could be a faulty wire. So the cable connecting the mic to the pack, it could be a corroded wire. So it could be interference in the Bluetooth connection or the wireless connection. So there's a lot that could be going on there. Yeah. So my suggestion is, if that's there and you hear it and it bothers you, don't use that mic. So here's a sound thing, okay? We're about to get into the actual taping. Like, what do you do? What do you do? So what we're about to move into, everyone, is once you get that email that you have an audition, what are the steps? What do you do, okay, for a self-tape? So, but let me jump ahead, because this is a sound thing. When you listen to your self-tape after you've done it, and if you hear something like a siren, or like I have a big dog, like if the dog barks, if you hear it, casting's gonna hear it. And here's the thing, if you're in the room in a live audition and a siren goes off, nobody cares because everybody heard the siren. And you only have 5 minutes in the room if you're lucky. Right. But on a self-tape, you're in control of what you send in. So if you send in a tape that has a siren going off over one of your lines, casting's gonna think, wow, that's how much they care about this audition? That they heard that siren and still sent this tape in? And that says a lot. Whether it's true or, I mean, maybe you didn't have time to shoot another one because you literally had to do something else, but they don't know that. So those are things to think about with sound.
Yeah, that's super important. Okay, all right, let's move on. I still see some questions coming in. I'm going to answer as many as we can. I'll be feeding those to Jason, but let's move on to the actual self-tape audition itself, because I think that's really important. Great.
So before we move into the self-tape, there's a poll that we're going to put out. And in a moment, Jodie is going to put out a poll. And so here's my question. The question is, those of you who drive, so because I think some of you are in New York and some of you are in Chicago, so you might not have cars. I didn't have a car for like 15 years. So for those of you who drive, or when you did drive, I want you to think about when you fill up your gas tank. Are you the person who fills up your gas tank when the tank is half empty? So it's half empty and you say, you know what? It's half empty. I better fill it up. Are you the person who waits until it's a quarter of the way to empty? So it's 3/4 empty and you only have a quarter of a tank left. Is that when you fill it up? Or are you the person that waits till the light goes off because the car is telling you, okay, well, I need gas now. And so once the light goes off, that's when you get gas. Or are you the person that literally waits until your car coughs and that's when you fill it with gas? Which one are you? So Jodie's going to put that poll out. And be honest, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to fill out that poll. Just throw your answers in there.
All right, everyone's voting. Can you see the poll, Jason?
I can see it. You know what? I'm going to give you a couple more seconds because there's a lot of people on this call.
There's a lot of people. All right.
And be honest. Be honest, okay? Because I don't want any dishonesty on this. We're almost there. There's a few more people. 70% have voted. I'll give you 8 more seconds. And this is what I had. Let me write this down. Okay, so we've got 15% say half a tank. 54%.
I can show the results actually.
Great, show the results. Fantastic.
All right, so yeah, so
Poll is closed.
All right, poll is closed.
Okay, and for those of you who drive hybrids, good for you. So 15% said half a tank. 55% said when it's a quarter of a tank. 25% when the gas light goes on, and 5% were actually honest and said when the car is running on fumes. So
I do have to interject, Jason, and just say my friend Helene from New York said, what's the New York equivalent? It's like, when do you fill up your Metro card?
Yeah, when do you fill up your Metro card? Exactly.
That's funny.
Exactly. Now, or here's the answer to that: just buy a limitless card. Just buy a 1 month card. Okay. So but back in the day, I mean, I lived in New York when there were tokens, like there were no cards. So the question is, which one is correct? Because there's a right answer.
All right.
The right answer is, which one works for you? That's the right answer. If you never run out of gas, then whatever you're doing works for you. So if you fill it up at half a tank, if you fill it up at a quarter of a tank, if you fill it up when the light goes off, or if you fill it up when it's on fumes, and you never run out of gas, don't change. Because what you're doing works. The difference is, if you do run out of gas every now and again, what you're doing doesn't work. And now it's time to change things up. So take what I say here as we go forward on how to prepare and do the audition. Take that with the grain of salt of, okay, well, I don't do it that way, and what I do really works. Fantastic, then don't change. But if you look at how much you're working versus how much you're getting called back, and it's really skewed, you're working your ass off, but you're not really getting called back that much, you may be working too hard. If you're not working that much, you're kind of half-assing it because your half-assing is better than most people's 100%, but you're not getting called back that much, maybe you need to work a little harder. So we're going to talk about that now. I'm going to close the poll. Great. So wherever you are in the world, now you might be in a major acting center, so New York, LA, Chicago, Atlanta, or wherever you are, you're there to act. So I'm going to make the assumption that wherever you live, you're there to be an actor. So that's first and foremost. You're there to be an actor. You are not there to be a waiter. You're not there to sell real estate. You're not there to be a temp. You're there to be an actor. So that's the truth that I'm working on in this webinar. Okay. So that being said, here's my recommendation for how to go about doing your audition. As soon as you get that email, as soon as you get it, stop what you're doing. I don't care if you're watching a movie. Now, if you're having dinner with your family, don't stop what you're doing. But if you're watching a movie, if you're playing a game on your phone, if you're doing a hobby, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're at work, you're at work. But stop what you're doing, read the email, and look at the audition. Because that's what you're there to do. That's what you're in your city to do, is to be an actor. So look at the audition. What does it require? When is it due? And what's it for? Look at that. So if you get that audition on a Tuesday and it's due on Wednesday, which happens all the time, stop what you're doing and work on the audition. If you get it on a Tuesday and it's not due until Friday, stop what you're doing, look at the audition, open up your calendar, and put on your calendar when you are going to put it on tape and when you're going to rehearse it. Put it on your schedule as if it's your business, okay? That's first and foremost. So once you get it, start working on it or plan when you're going to work on it. If it's due on Friday, my recommendation, record it on Thursday. Because if anything goes wrong, you got Friday. So record it when you can, as soon as you can. So first things first, do your research. Now y'all should know this, but what research are you doing? So there's obviously the what, the why, the when, the where. So, what are you auditioning for? Who are you? Who's your character? Is it an under 5? Is it a co-star? Is it a recur? Is it a series regular? If it's a film, is it a lead? Is it supporting? Is it a one-liner? So that all goes into how you're going to prepare for this. And that's another class. But what is it? All right. Then who's behind it? So look up the people involved. Who's the director? Who's the writer? Who's casting it? If it's a show that's already on the air, watch an episode of that show. You can't audition for Superstore the way you would audition for, say, that new show Space Force. They're both half-hour comedies, but they're completely different. So you got to watch it, see the sensibility of the show. Also, see what that casting director directs. If you don't know that casting director, see what they direct. I mean, what they cast, and see what are their predilections, who are the people they tend to call in. So do that type of research. And you should all know that, but how many of you do it? That's the question.
Yeah, Jason, I think there's something sometimes different about a self-tape that just we process it differently in our head. We're like, well, I'm at home. I can kind of do it whenever.
Yep.
You know, maybe I'll work on it or I'll set up the thing. I can do 20 takes, right? Like
Yep.
we treat it differently than if you're actually going to an audition. And I think you're really doing ourselves a disservice if we do that.
Absolutely.
What you're saying.
It's the belief that I have all the time in the world.
Right.
So I'll just wait. So if you have all the time in the world, do it. Look at it like this. Look at it like this. So if you get an audition on Monday and it's due on Friday, you could stress about it all week and then do it on Friday morning, or you could prepare on Tuesday, shoot it on Wednesday, and then be carefree the rest of the day, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's your choice. It's your choice. And don't forget, if you get that audition on Monday and it's due on Friday, how many other auditions are you going to get that week that you then have to schedule? How many other things are going to come up, right? So you never know. So plan accordingly. Now, as we go through this, I want you to think of yourself as the CEO of your business, the marketing director of your business, the HR of your business, and I want you to think that you have to do all those tasks. So,
and for all my clients out there, does that sound familiar?
Yeah. Now, the idea behind this is that you don't have to pay someone to put you on tape. My rate, I'm not cheap. Okay. You can find people to put you on tape for like $40 an hour, $60 an hour. Like that's great. I start at about $100 and I just go up from there because I don't just put people on tape. I work with them. I put it together. We find stuff, but you should never have to pay someone that amount of money to put yourself on tape. I mean, you shouldn't pay anyone to put you on tape unless it's a humongous audition or it's your first time in front of a major casting director, if it's a big deal, because you have to do a cost benefit analysis. If you're working with me 5 times a month at my minimum at $100, that's $500 that you're spending in a month just to audition. That's ridiculous. I mean, I wouldn't accept it. I'd say, no, I'm not going to coach you. Like, that's stupid, So you should be able to do this on your own. And one of the ways to do that is once you get your audition, you call your audition buddy. So you should all have 1, 2, 3, 4 audition buddies who are the people who are your readers. So if you don't live with them, or you might live with them, but that person's not in the business and they're a terrible reader. I have a client who will pay me whatever because her husband is such a bad reader that she can't stand. And also, if he gives her a note, she explodes. So it's like, but she knows that about herself. So we work together.
Yes,
But have an audition buddy. So if Jodie's my audition buddy, when I get the audition on Monday and I know it's due on Wednesday, the first thing I'm going to do is text Jodie and say, hey, when are you available at this time, or this time to read for me? There you go. And then I do the same for her. We don't charge each other. We're friends. And it's professional courtesy. And that way you have a live reader in the room. Well, virtually in the room.
Right.
If you have someone in your home, don't assume that they can do your self-tape whenever you want to do it. Ask them, hey, are you free at this time, or this time? And it will be for 45 minutes. Okay? So if it's going to be for 45 minutes, that means that your rehearsal needs to happen before you shoot. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So do your research, set up your times, treat it like a business. Treat it like it's important. It's show business. Business is a much bigger word and it's much more important.
I would say, Jason, too, about getting the self-tapes in. My manager always tells me to get it in like 24 to 36 hours before it's due so they can watch it.
Yep.
They always give me something sooner. And they always say, if you can get it in even before that, great, because we want to get it to casting as fast as we can because they're watching them as they're coming in. So you don't want to be the 11th hour person, getting their stuff in at the last minute when casting has already watched 300 auditions up until that
Absolutely.
point.
So full disclosure, Jodie and my wife have the same manager. And so my wife, who I give a very friendly rate when I put her on tape, she has the same thing. Like she'll say, hey, this is due tomorrow at 2. I'm like, tomorrow at 2? I said, it's 8 p.m. right now. She goes, no, but that's my manager's due date. It's really due the next day. And I love that because it gives your team a chance to watch it. Now, if you don't have a manager and agent, that's fine. You set yourself a due date before it's due. And Jodie is absolutely right. They watch them as they come in. And there's two rules: the rule of primacy and the rule of recency. So they're going to remember what they see first, and they're going to remember what they see last. And they're not going to remember so much what they see in the middle. And the other thing is they base everything on what they see first. And it skews. So what they see first that might have, and I don't mean to rate things, but let's just use 10 being the best, right? If they see something in the beginning that's a 7, what they see in the middle, if that's a 7 as well, the first one is rated higher in their mind because they're judging it against it. That's just psychology, okay? And everyone's different. So get it in when you can. Now, as far as your research goes, you shouldn't be, look, what the character wears and how the character's hair is, it's important. Is it the most important thing? I don't think so. You know, props, don't use them. Look, here's a prop. You can use a phone. If you're on the phone, use your phone, okay? If you're driving a car, please don't do this, okay? I know you can drive a car. I know you can. So don't do this. If you have to hold a gun in your audition, please don't hold a fake gun in your hand because all they're going to do is look at the gun. I know that if I put a gun in your hand, you can hold it. Because even if you weren't an actor, you can hold it. So try to avoid things like that. Just prepare. Who is this character? Who does this character become because I play this character? What can I bring to this? And instead of asking yourself, and we'll get into this in the mindset when we get to the end of this webinar, ask yourself, what can I show them that is innately me? Not what are they looking for? Because here's the thing, they don't know what they're looking for. They know what they're looking for when they see you. The moment they push play and they see you, they say, oh, I could see her in the role. And if you try to give them what you think they're looking for, within 5 seconds, you've acted yourself out of that role. Because you had it, as soon as they turned it on, oh my gosh, Jodie's perfect for this. But if Jodie doesn't do what Jodie does, and that doesn't mean she can't act, but that doesn't mean she has to be herself. No, it's what is the character because Jodie plays her. Now you're intriguing them and they're interested.
Exactly. This is why I talk about branding so much. And all my clients on this webinar know. And if you don't know who I am and what I do, if you're new to me, go to jodiebentleycareercoach.com. I talk a lot about branding because it is about bringing you to that role. And I think a lot of my clients right now who are having success in self-tapes, I booked a lot on self-tapes before COVID because it is about showing them who you are. And if you don't know who that is, then you're just trying to give them what you think they want. So and then that's just playing a head game.
Absolutely. And before the shelter in place happened, okay, self-tapes were on the rise over the past couple of years anyway. One, they're more cost effective for the studio. They're more cost effective for casting. And also, a lot of self-taping has replaced the pre-read. So if casting doesn't know you, they're always going to call you in a day before for a pre-read. Well, now and unless casting has a dedicated office at the studio, they're not going to do pre-reads anymore because they have to rent a place to do a pre-read, and they're not going to do that. So now you can just do a self-tape. So even when the COVID restrictions lighten up and we figure out a way to shoot, self-tapes are here to stay, and you can take advantage of that. So we've got
a ton of questions coming in.
Ton of questions. Hit me with the questions. You know why? Because I don't know what they need to know. So I know the things I want to say, but it's more important what they want to know.
Okay. So first of all, this is from anonymous attendee. Says, if your apartment is not a great place for self-taping, as in it tends to be dark, there aren't solid backgrounds, you have roommates, do you have suggestions on how to work around these issues? Before the pandemic, I would self-tape elsewhere. Okay.
So there's first, if you have an agent or manager, that's what they're for, to alert casting on your behalf. Just so you know, my client, because of COVID, has 3 roommates, 5 dogs, 6 cats. Their upstairs neighbor's a drummer, and they live right next to a fire station. Okay, so just be aware that when you get their tape, it's because of those things. So that's one thing. Okay, I just said 2. Hold on, that's one thing. So make sure that they know that. But if that's the case, so right behind me, this is my office. Okay, so this isn't where I would tape. I've got a painting, I've got a guitar, and I've got some books over there. All right. So if I did a self-tape here, fine, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Now, are they going to read that and wonder, oh, hey, it's a De La Vega quote? And they're going to wonder, yeah, probably. So I might take that off the wall. Do I want them to focus on the guitar and the books? Not really, but if I'm the one that the camera's focused on, they're going to look at me. If you don't have a clean wall, it's not the end of the world. Just don't have a messy wall. You know, if you've got pictures on your, like I have a wall over there, it's got pictures, it's got, you know, wedding photos, it's got, you know, all these cool things. I've done self-tapes in front of that for clients.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing is that you are the best version of you for that role you can be. And then everything else is forgivable, so long as they can hear you. Everything else is forgivable.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so you have to ask your roommates, hey, I'm gonna tape for 45 minutes. Can we keep the noise down 45 minutes? And make a contract with them. So if they say yes, we can do that, then your part of that contract is you only have 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So rehearse before that. If you don't have a lot of light, do what you can to light yourself. You could, I mean, worst case, you could literally use a flashlight. Put some, I got it right here. Put some parchment paper in front of your flashlight. Just tape it in front of a flashlight. Whatever you can do to make it look good. Casting is forgiving. They're forgiving. They know you're doing your best. And if you bring it, like if you show, like if you kick ass in that audition, they will forgive anything because you kicked ass. I hope that answers your question.
And I'm just going to add to that, Jason. I love everything you've said. And look, we know that the times we're in, right? And I get what you did pre-COVID, and that's not where we are now. And so I really invite you to go, okay, where in my apartment can I create a space for me? Where can I have a little business office that is mine and do that contract with my roommate and make sure let me buy some freaking lights and buy the ring light if you can't afford the LED lights. Like figure out what is in your budget, but this is where we're going. And if you want to be competitive and be in the industry, you're going to have to set up some kind of area for yourself. Whether it's with $5 or $500 doesn't matter, but you've got to have a space for yourself.
Worst case, go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, go to your local Ace Hardware, get a stand, buy some scoop lights. You can get those for $7. Put some parchment paper in front of them, buy a proper light bulb, and there are your lights right there. But what Jodie is saying is gospel truth. It is your business. Make an investment. Think about all the things you buy. You know, here's a little thing. Look at your credit card statement for the past 6 months. And look at all the things you bought that you didn't need. All of them. Add it up. What would have been possible had you spent that exact same amount of money on peripherals for your acting career? What would be possible?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's no joke. I mean, in my first year in New York, I lived on ramen noodles, you know, because I wanted the things I needed, you know, and I love ramen noodles.
Did it too. So people talking about what is your blue wall, gray wall, white wall, off-white wall, whatever you have, right?
Yeah.
Again,
just make sure.
Preference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that the shirt you're wearing isn't the same color as your wall. Okay, that's the biggest thing. You know, like right now, I'm wearing a blue shirt and I've got a gray wall. This separates a little bit, but I wouldn't wear this I don't really audition much anymore, but I wouldn't wear this. So if they're asking for a denim shirt, like if that's what they're asking for, I would either come further away from the wall and give myself some backlight, or I tape at a different wall.
I love it. Okay, we got a lot of questions on, I'm just looking through them because I know we're getting there. Slates. I want you to talk about slates. People
Let's
are
talk about
freaking
slates.
out about full body slates.
Okay.
So I know you have something to say and I have something to say. Let's talk about that.
First of all, my opinion on full body slates is, what's the friggin' point? Can't I just send in a photo? But that's my opinion, and my opinion's not changing the world. So here's the thing to remember. This business, just like the world in general, was not built for your comfort. And it was not built for you to be at ease, okay? There are things you have to do that aren't easy and that are a pain in the ass. And the full body shot is one of them. So you've got a couple options. One is you shoot your self-tape horizontally. For those of you who don't know that, shoot it horizontally. So if you want to do your full body, you could turn it vertical, okay? I don't do that, but you can, and no one's going to ding you on it, okay? And if they do ding you on it, screw them. Let's see them self-tape every day for a living, all right? I'm sorry. So that was my New York. Anyway, so what you can do is you could pull out, and then they're going to see more of your apartment. So if they see more of your apartment, make sure you don't have your underwear on the floor, okay? Make sure that it's not dirty. And it's okay, because now you have an opportunity. So reframe your mindset of, oh shit, they're going to see my apartment. Now they're going to know that I live in a shoebox. Now they're going to know that I'm not a totally professional actor. Well, the other side of that coin is now they get to see more of your personality. Okay. So if I zoom out, you know, people might see my golf clubs. They might see my guitar. They might see my kick-ass dog sitting there. You know, because Atticus rocks. Okay. They might see someone. So you can stage what they see when you pull out. And that's the question that everyone always asks. They'll ask stuff like, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, now you don't have to tell them anything about yourself. They can see the way you live. So there's an opportunity there for the full body shot. Now, when doing it, unless they ask you specifically to zoom out for the full body shot, do it as a separate take. So that's the number one rule with all self-tapes. Do what they tell you to do. If they don't ask for a full body shot, don't do it. If they don't ask for things, don't do it. Do what they ask for, no more, no less. When you introduce yourself, this is what, I'm not kidding, 99.99999% of my actors, this is what they do. Hi, I'm Jason Weiss. I live in West Hollywood. I'm 6 feet tall and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, great. Okay. So that's just one run-on sentence. So think about how you introduce yourself when you meet someone. Does Jodie say, hey, I'd like you to meet my friend Jeff. Hi, Jeff. I'm Jason Weiss. I'm 6 foot tall and I live in West Hollywood. I mean, if you do that, I really want to meet you. But chances are you say, hi, I'm Jason. Okay. So in your slate, those are 3 separate things. Hi, I'm Jason Weiss. I'm 6 feet tall and I live in West Hollywood. Simple. Simple. Okay. And you all hate slating. So if that's what you hate the most, either get it out of the way or do it at the end. But if you do it at the end,
you might forget.
You're going to forget.
I've done that.
You're going to forget. Okay. And you'll say, ah, fuck it. You know? So anyway,
right.
So the slate, no more, no less. And it's a chance to show your personality, but don't show too much. Okay. Don't say, hi, I'm Jason Weiss. I'm 6 feet tall. They're not going to watch your tape. You literally just lost the audition with your slate. Just be you. And if you have trouble being you, practice being you. Practice slating. What? I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, okay? What happens when we become adults is we expect to be experts at something the first time we do it. Yeah. If you watch kids on a ski slope who have never skied before, they fall on their ass every 2 seconds, but by the end of the day, they're skiing. You watch an adult take a ski lesson for the first time, they never fall once, but at the end of the day, they're not skiing. They're still in their snow plow, and at the end of the day, they're going to say, didn't fall once. It's like, yeah, but you didn't ski. So practice slating. If you're not great at it, practice it. Just like if you're not good at an English dialect, practice it. Mm-hmm. You know, you're an actor. Practice it. If you're not practicing, you're wasting everyone's time. So
all business skills can be learned. They can. Yes. You just have to be willing to put in the time to freaking learn it.
I will work, when I'm directing, I will take an actor who gives 100%, who's not quite as talented as a talented actor that doesn't give 100%. Every time. Because you can work with someone who gives 100%. Yeah. Someone who doesn't give 100%, you can't work with them. You never know what you're going to get. So that's my recommendation on Slate.
I love it. I have one more question about slates, but I just want to jump in. I showed you guys, like, that's my pull shade, right? So when I pull out to do a full body shot, I see my crooked photos because they won't stay on the wall in the right way. And then I start to see the other side of my mirror because I put that over a mirror. So what I'll include in the follow-up email, I found a workaround. I've created this layer to put in Imovie, if you're editing in Imovie, which blocks out the sides. So you just add a photo and add the layer in my video. So I'll take the video, I keep it horizontal, I do the video, and then I add this layer. And I've been wanting to do this. So I'll do it for you, I'll do a screen recording of how I do that in iMovie, and I'll add that into the follow-up email because I think it's, because it's such a pain in the ass.
Now in the PDF I put together for everybody, there's a short video on basic iMovie techniques, like how to use iMovie. Great. So there's a short video in there for you to watch. But if you watch what they're doing with The Princess Bride right now, I don't know if you're watching it, a bunch of celebrities are reenacting The Princess Bride, and it's hysterical. So
I didn't know that.
Watch it, okay? Anyway, they're using that letterbox thing that Jodie's talking about because all of the actors are shooting it differently. So because of that, they're putting it up like this, and so all you see is this slim thing in the middle. So that's a great way to do it.
Great. The other thing, do you put the slate at the beginning or the end of the self-tape? What's your thought?
Casting will tell you. So casting will tell you. They'll let you know if they want the slate to be the same take. They'll let you know if they wanted a separate take. They'll let you know if it should be in the beginning or the end. If they don't let you know, my recommendation is default to the beginning. So put in the beginning.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. You don't need titles, okay? So some of you are good on iMovie or stuff like that. And if you're using like Final Cut or Premiere to do your self-tapes, you're doing way too much work, okay? So you don't need titles, okay? So you don't have to have a title card that says Jodie Bentley, Aspire Talent Management. Like you don't need that, okay? That's I know, but you don't need it because you're wasting their time.
But
you gotta
at the end.
So
sorry, Jason. Put it at the end. I love the end card.
It looks great. It looks great. But at the end of the day, look, if it makes you feel good, do it. But I want you to know you don't need it. You don't need fancy transitions between each clip. So you don't need to go blah, 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 like the old Batman, right? You don't need that. Don't score it. Don't put music underneath your audition. And some of you are laughing right now, but it happens. You don't need it. What you need is to be the best you can be. That's all you need. That's all you need. So do your slate, make it simple, and get to the audition because that's what they want to see. Okay. And now, that being said, every office is different. So some offices might want you to do certain things. Agents and managers might have their opinions. Again, this is just my opinion. And I could find you 25 people who will absolutely disagree with me, who are just as good as doing what I do. So who knows?
You got to do what's right for you, but we're giving you a lot of options, right? And
yes.
I'm sure this isn't the first webinar you've watched during quarantine about any of this stuff, right? So you got to pick and choose what works for you. Dawn asked if they don't tell you to slate at all, like it's not anywhere in the instructions, which I've gotten, should you still slate every time? Nope. I do, but I put it at the end then.
I don't, because if they're not asking for a slate, well, okay, yes and no. I will shoot a slate, but I will not include it. So that way, if someone says, so if you send it to your manager, they say, you forgot your slate, no problem, let me send it again. But if they don't ask for a slate, you just need to make sure that you title the file the way they want it titled. So you would put Jodie Bentley, Agent Banks, CSI Miami, boom. It's titled that way. So make sure that you title your file, your name, the part, and what it's for. And if they don't ask for that, because sometimes they'll ask specifically, but if they don't ask for it, make their lives easier by doing that, okay? And when you send it on a transfer file system. So send it on like You Send It or Dropbox or Boomerang, or not Boomerang, that's an app. Send it on a file transferring system. Don't just send it through email because it'll take forever and they're gonna hate you.
I use Vimeo. I have Vimeo Pro.
Yeah, there you go.
I use Vimeo and I just hide the video, which is very important. Hide it from your Vimeo because you don't want those auditions out publicly. But then you can also make sure that they can download it. So I send a link to my manager that they can download and send the way that they send as well.
All the people I know right now just wrote WeTransfer or WeTransfer, and I can think they're all saying, Jason, you idiot, WeTransfer is what you use. But anyway, let's before we head over to the Zoom settings and how to do that, because we need to do that.
We do. We needed like 2 hours for this. I don't know what I was thinking with an hour.
Yeah, just remember that it's your audition, okay? It's your audition, and watch it before you send it. The idea is to rehearse it enough so that you can set up your lights, set everything up, do a little warm up, and then get in front of the camera and do it in one take. If you could, now you're not going to do it in one take, but that's your mindset, that you've rehearsed it so much that as soon as you go in front of the camera, you're ready to go.
Yes.
And you're ready to bring you. So
I love that.
You did that, you sent it in, they loved it, and they said, hey, we're going to do a Zoom call back. Now what do you do? Okay. So Zoom can be your friend or Zoom can be your biggest enemy. So let's talk about how you make it your friend. You're gonna have a PDF that has a bunch of settings. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you about those settings right now. You don't have to write it down. I have them photoed and I have like little arrows telling you what to click. But if you look at your Zoom right now, you look in the bottom left corner, you'll see a microphone and you'll see a video. video camera.
They actually might not see that, Jason, because they're on a webinar. So they might
You might not see that, but when you do look at Zoom,
when you do,
on the bottom left, you'll see a microphone and you'll see an old-fashioned video camera. And underneath the microphone, it'll say mute, and underneath the camera, it'll say stop video. Right next to both of those icons, there's an arrow pointing up. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to click on the video camera, and you're going to click the drop box that says video settings. And all you're going to do is click everything on there that matters. So you're going to click the first few things, which is widescreen, enable HD, mirror my video. And the reason you want to mirror your video is because if you go like this, you see that. Because if you don't hit mirror my video, when you go like this, it looks like this, and it's really going to throw you off. Okay. You also, if you're a little ripe like I am, click on the button that says touch up my appearance, because why not? Then under meetings, you want to click hide non-video participants. Okay, all the other things on there are up to you, but hide non-video.
Just ask everyone, people can see this right now or no? I mean, you don't see this on the webinar settings, right? No, they don't see it. So I think,
Great.
Jason, let's leave this for the PDF. So basically what Jason did, and this changed everything for me on Zoom, was the technical video and audio settings that you can shift and change in your Zoom. So that way you don't have sound lag and you can look the best in this little box. Okay. So make sure to I'm going to be sending that out. If I don't get it to you today, it'll be it tomorrow. You will get all those PDFs. But those settings, when Jason showed me those settings, I was like, you know your shit.
And now really Amber just said that she can see the audio settings using the webinar.
Okay,
so there are some audio settings that are essential, and I mean essential, if you're going to have a good acting experience. So when you click on your audio settings, again, this is in the PDF, you're going to get a little drop-down menu, and on the bottom thing, it says audio settings. The first thing you're going to do is right in the middle of that screen, you're going to uncheck the box that says automatically adjust microphone volume. Okay, and I have that photo in the PDF, but you're going to uncheck that, because if you keep that checked, the Zoom software will lower your voice if you're speaking loudly, or it will raise your voice if you're speaking softly, and you don't want that. The second thing you're going to do is click the advanced button on the bottom right. Again, this is all in the PDF, and there are 3 drop downs: suppress persistent background noise, suppress intermittent background noise, and echo cancellation. You are going to disable the first 2. Suppress persistent background noise and suppress intermittent background noise. If you are singing in your audition, you are also going to turn echo cancellation to auto or aggressive, and you're going to practice it to see which one sounds better for you. Okay, you may want to do aggressive, otherwise it's going to sound weird because you're going to get all this echo off your wall. Then you're going to go back, and on the main audio screen, there's a button right in the middle, literally right in the middle. It says test mic. So once you've changed all those settings, you're then going to click check mic, and you're going to say, this is me checking my mic. This is as loud as I go. This is as soft as I go. And then it's going to play it back, and you're going to hear it. And then you adjust as you need to go.
Love it.
Those are the settings for Zoom. Okay.
I love it. And again, we're going to get that PDF of all of that, which is awesome. Jason, I have to ask this question because my clients have been asking me a lot, because in my mastermind groups, I'll look at people's self-tapes and give some feedback on things. And what I'm finding is people are not fully understanding how to use the camera in self-tapes. Because like when you're in an audition room, you're reading with the reader and you're looking at the reader, right? But now and some of us might not have the reader in person, or even when we do in a self-tape, I just find it's different. Can you talk about eyelines and things like that before we wrap up?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, when you're shooting, like when you're hired, you never look at the camera. Unless it's a breaking the fourth wall or it's a confessional, you don't look at the camera. So in an audition, don't look at the camera unless casting specifically says, look at the camera. So here's my phone. So look if you have someone reading with you, look at their camera side eye on this side, and then look at on this side and see which one looks better. If you don't have a reader who can stand in a certain place, what I'll do is I'll put different marks all around the wall. So I'll put one here, I'll put one here, I'll put one here, and I'll just use painter's tape. See? So look, here are my marks. They're right here. I just have them on my bookshelf. So I'll use painter's tape, and what I'll do is get behind the camera, and I'll push record. I'll get in front of the camera, push record, and I'll look at this one, then I'll look at this one, then I'll look at this one, then I'll look at that one. Then I'll watch it, and I'll see which one looks better. Just remember, the further away you are from the camera, the closer you need to look to the lens. Because if I'm only looking this far away from the lens, but I'm standing 10 feet from the camera, it looks like I'm looking way over there. So that's why you test it. And that way, and you don't have to stare. Like you can look away, but just remember where your sight line is. And if you're talking to 5 people in your audition, you don't need 5 sight lines, because casting has an imagination, and they know that if they put you on a set, you can identify 5 different people. So you don't have to worry about that.
Totally. But the eyelines are so important. I either make my husband, squat down, because if I look up at him, then
that's important.
It's too much in myself.
That's super important. Yep.
So I love using tape, or I make him squat.
Now, a question that I get a lot is, can I hold a script in hand?
Ooh, good one.
Now, here's the thing. Some casting offices are, you better not hold a script. Other casting offices are, you better hold a script. And then most casting offices don't give a shit. Okay? So here's my recommendation. You need to know it you need to know it really well. You need to know why you're saying what you're saying. You need to know what you're trying to achieve. You need to know who the other people are. You need to know that stuff. Okay? So chances are it's not a cold read. But if you need to hold your script, hold it. Just hold it out of frame. If you need it here because it's like an 8-page audition and it's due in 12 hours, hold your script. You're not going to memorize 8 pages, but just be careful of how loud it is. Also, make sure your reader, when they're turning pages, aren't going when they're turning pages, okay? But if you need your script, it's not the end of the world. Casting isn't going to say that was the greatest audition we've seen, but they were holding their script. We can't possibly call them back. They're not going to say that. And if they do, screw them. Now, one other thing about that callback on Zoom, this is the microphone I use when I'm on Zoom, okay? This is plugged in right here. I have opportunities on Zoom that I don't have in a self-tape. I've got my wireless earbuds on, so I can hear you with no wires coming down. My microphone is right here, so it's picking up my voice. And again, what's the investment that you're in a position to make right now to sound as good as you can sound? That's what it comes down to. And if you can't make that investment, don't. It's fine, because your performance is more important. So long as they can hear you and they can see you, your performance is what matters.
Totally. And I think that eye lines, like we're talking about, are a super important part of your performance within that. Now, over
just
Zoom,
look at the difference. Just look at the difference. So now I'm looking right at the camera. Okay, I'm looking right at the camera. So this looks like I'm looking right at you. And that can be a little off-putting for casting. So if I look right here, now it looks as if I'm talking to somebody. And now notice I'm not looking down here, because if I look down here, you can't see my eyes. So all I do is I look on the computer. Where's a good place to look? There's Atticus. He agrees. So he's a great co-pilot. So again, how do you do this? Practice. Open a Zoom meeting, hit record, okay, and try different eye lines on your computer, and then watch it back. That's all you gotta do. Now, and worst case, just look right at yourself. I'm making eye contact with myself right now, and it looks like I'm looking at somebody. That's all you gotta do.
It looks great. Yeah, because I think, what like Jason was saying with the camera on the cell phone, it's different than on Zoom, because you can't just look right on Zoom up here. It just starts to look weird, right? So it is just a slightly different technique. Someone was also saying in the chat that they wish they had this webinar before they did their chemistry read over Zoom earlier this week.
Well, you'll get my email after. Yeah, you'll get my email after that. We could talk about that later.
Oh my God, we're at 12:03. Jason, I still have 26 open questions.
I can spend some more time.
Can we spend a few more time? Are you guys cool to spend a little more time? How many? We still have 161 people here. I see 6 of you have raised your hands. I'm not calling on raised hands in this webinar. If you have a question, post it in the Q&A. We've answered some of these. Let me see here. Let me just scroll through what we have. Okay, so.
Can I point something out? Hold on. Here's a little meta moment. Okay? Yeah. So it is now 12 p.m. And my natural light, you see how my face is now a lot hotter? Because the light has come up. That window faces south, and now it's a lot hotter on my face. So if I were to start my self-tape now, I would close those blinds. So you can see the difference that the time of day makes when you shoot. Yeah. Look at Grace. So Grace, my wife, just went over there to close the blinds, and watch the difference. Watch the difference. It's great to have a good grip. So if you have a grip, look at that. See the difference? So just a little, and she does it with a smile on her face. Amazing. Okay, so you can see in the course of an hour, my light went from being really good to really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be aware of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Goretti says, I've taped some open call auditions using Zoom. The auditions looked and sounded good to me. What do you think about using Zoom as your self-tape, like taping it through Zoom?
Yeah. So I've recently heard people doing that. In fact, Jodie was in my class last week when one person was saying, "Hey, we're doing that now. If it works, do it. 100%. Do it." And the beauty about a laptop is put it on a bookshelf and you can stand up during your audition.
Yeah.
Because the Zoom window is the perfect medium close-up. Like, it's perfect. So if you have a good camera on your computer, and I can use whatever mic, if it's a USB mic or something like that, absolutely do it. Just make sure that when you transfer it over to edit it, that it hasn't lost too much of its integrity, because the Zoom software is not intended to be recorded and then edited on a separate editing software. It's not intended for that. So it should be fine. And if you're doing it and it works, keep doing it. And go further. Create a business for yourself. So film yourself doing it and how to do it, and then post that on YouTube and try to get a million views and monetize it. So good on you.
I love it. All right, so people want more tips about Zoom callbacks. And
Okay.
this other question is, if you're doing a Zoom callback, should you use your laptop or your phone?
Okay. So let's start with that one.
Yeah.
The camera on your phone is probably better than the camera on your computer, because chances are you get a new phone once a year, once every 2 years, and you might have a computer that's 5-6 years old. But when you use your camera, you've got those little things on the side. And when you use your camera, in order to adjust anything in the moment, you got to go like this. Okay? Whereas on your computer, it's right there. So my preference when I am conducting Zoom things is for everyone to be on their laptop.
Yeah.
Again, if your camera is that much better, use your camera. Use it. Because no one is going to say, "Oh my God, Jodie's audition was amazing, but she had 2 black lines on the side. We can't possibly call her back." No one's going to do that. So you do what works best for you. For me, whenever I'm Zooming, I always use my computer. Always. Now, you can also use your iPad or a tablet. That works great as well, but that's my last suggestion. Don't use it. Here's the reason. Because you're going to have it horizontal and the camera's over there. It's not in the middle. And that's one of the flaws of your phone.
Right.
The camera's not in the middle. So you've got to look like this. So every time you look at the screen to see what you look like, it looks like you're doing this. So it's a drawback. Yeah.
That
They're
just
like, "What's over there?"
all right, so any other like Zoom audition tips?
Yeah. So
Acting in the box.
yeah. So with the Zoom audition, again, you have the advantage. You're not walking into a casting director's office. You're in your office.
Yeah.
So you get to set your lights the way that makes you look best. You get to make sure you know what's behind you. You, if you needed to, could put the sides right behind the computer in like 35-point font so you can read them if you need to. Okay? The greatest film actor, one of the greatest film actors of all time, Marlon Brando, stopped memorizing lines in 1958. Okay? So, I mean, it's good enough for Brando. So you've got to think about your office. Think about your apartment, your office. So when you're on that Zoom callback, first, make a connection with the reader. So if the reader is on camera, go ahead and look at the reader while you're talking, okay? And you can turn your video off so that you don't accidentally look at yourself, because you don't look at yourself. So all you gotta do is hover over your box of where your video box, and if you click the 3 dots in the corner, you can scroll down, and it'll say hide self view. So then hide yourself so you can't see yourself. That's recommendation 1.
Yeah.
If your reader is not on, then you might want to put your camera on and act to yourself. Literally look yourself right in the eyes and act to yourself. Why not? But you got to make a connection, and you got to believe it. The other thing is this: because you're in a medium close-up, your natural instinct might be to, I got to talk very quietly, and I can't move much because I read the Michael Caine book on acting on film, which means I can never move and I can't blink. I can't blink. So because to act on film, I can't blink. If I don't blink, then it'll be fine, and I can't move much, because that's what Michael Caine says, and he's right, and it's boring as hell. So practice how much you can move in this box without it being distracting. Practice how loud you can get without it sounding like you're shouting, and practice how quiet you can get so people can still hear you and it makes a thing. And don't be afraid to come in and say, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid to lean back. Don't be afraid to do those things, so that the idea is they want to cast you. So don't give them reasons not to cast you. So in this Zoom callback, you've got the advantage of looking like you belong in the film, because you do belong in your apartment.
Yes, I love that. And use your space. It's your space.
Use it.
It's like
use
you don't
it.
have to be here frozen acting.
Yeah.
With someone, you know?
And let me tell you something. With what Jodie has right now, if she were to raise her computer up about 3 feet so that she was standing, so long as she's wearing earbuds so the microphone travels with her, in her Zoom callback, she can walk back and forth. She can walk 5 feet back, and there's her full body, and she can come right here, and there's her close-up in the fucking callback. Sorry about the F-bomb. So you're showing them that these are reasons to cast Jodie, because Jodie isn't subscribing to what she thinks we want. Jodie is showing us this is what Jodie does. So if you're looking for what Jodie does, nobody does it better than Jodie. That's the idea in that Zoom callback.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, all right. So this is a little bit more about recording the audition itself. So Eve says, and a couple other people were talking about, how many takes do I use? I have trouble deciding. And, you know, and Eve says, when I have an audition with a ton of text, I feel like I do 8 takes and never get it perfect. There's always a glitch in lines, timing, something. Is that forgivable? I feel so much pressure to get everything perfect. And I wonder if I should just do 27 takes if that's what it takes.
Great. That was Dawn?
That was Eve.
Eve. So Eve, you are not alone. I would venture to guess that most of the people who are on this webinar right now have similar feelings, and if they don't, they had them at one point. So you are not alone. You have to do a cost-benefit analysis, okay? 27 takes is, first of all, there is no perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Okay. Orson Welles watched the final cut of Citizen Kane, and I guarantee you he saw 50 things that he would change if he could. Okay. There's no perfect. So give yourself some slack. You know, I said don't let your dog bark, but if there's a little dog bark, but that was a great audition and it's just a little dog bark, let it slide. Who gives a shit? Now, if it's a big dog bark over a really important line, you might want to record it again. But it's never going to be perfect. So my recommendation is don't do 27 takes. Practice it and practice it and practice it. Rehearse it. Rehearse it for 2 hours. And rehearsing it isn't, this isn't rehearsing, everyone. Let me find out. This isn't rehearsing. Rehearsing isn't covering the other person's line. And then, so I read their line, then my line's covered, then I say my line. Then I read their line, and then I say my line. That's not rehearsing. That's memorizing, okay? Rehearsing isn't saying it to yourself 20 times. Rehearsing is practicing, finding ways to make this make sense, finding ways to make it interesting. Practice it, practice it, practice it, because that's what you have to do on set. You've got to, when you're hired, you're the professional actor. Your director's not an acting teacher. Your director's not going to teach you how to act. Your director expects you to know more about acting than he does or she does. So practice it, then set up your gear, and then shoot it. So shoot it once and watch it. But watch it with the kind of eye that you're not looking necessarily at your hair or is there a wrinkle on my shirt. Watch it and ask yourself this question. Number 1, do I believe it? That's the first question. Do I believe it? And that's a larger conversation because it's important for actors to identify why Judi Dench is so good and Mark Wahlberg is not. Now, you can like a Mark Wahlberg movie because Mark Wahlberg does Mark Wahlberg, but you need to be able to know what makes a good actor good and what makes a great actor great. If you can't tell that difference, you're not going to be able to look at your own tape and know what's good and what's not. Okay? So you take that back. Listen, Mark Wahlberg, whatever. I'm just saying, you know, look, Ma, I'm your son too. You know, whatever. But the point is, you've got to be able to identify that. So when you watch your tape, do you believe it?
Yeah.
If you don't, believe it, do it again. Here are some keys to why you might not believe it. Because you're only stressing pronouns. Okay? I don't think that you should do that. You know, if you're doing that, it's probably not believable. Second indication, are you indicating? Are you using your hands and your facial gestures to express what you're saying? If you're doing that, you're being redundant, and it's probably not believable. So is it believable? Second, if it's believable, you say, yeah, you know what, I believe that. Second thing you got to ask yourself is it interesting? So yes, I believe it. Second, do I care? If you believe it but you don't care, do it again. If you care but you don't believe it, do it again. If you care and you believe it, do one more for safety. But that's it. That's it. You're done. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So that's the idea there.
I love that, Jason. Yeah, I do 4 takes max, maybe 5, but I do about 4. And, you know, and I do exactly that. I watch the tape and I go, you know, those 2 moments, I didn't quite believe it. I'm going to do it again. Oh, that one, I didn't quite believe it. But you know what? Even though I didn't like that other one because I thought my hair was weird, I'm going to use that one because I believed it more. Yep. Do you know what I mean? And then I do one final one where I go, I'm going to throw everything out the fucking window of, you know, all the things I wanted to do and the plans or what I'm going to throw it all out the window. And now I'm just going to be. And I would say, you know, 7 out of 10 times I end up using that one.
Look, so 2 things to say about that. One, that's what I do when I direct. We'll shoot it, and then I'll always say, all right, we'll do one more take. This one's for the actors. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Okay? But the second thing that Jodie said there is key. It's key, which is she sets up 4 or 5 takes, and that's what she's going to do. But she says, I throw whatever I was planning out the window. Now, here's a free acting tip, okay? This isn't what this webinar is about, but here's a free acting tip. Don't mark up your script. Don't mark up your script to say angry, judgmental because of this, transition into happiness here. Once you do that, you become robotic and you lose all spontaneity. You lose the ability to act in the moment. All you need to do is know why you're saying what you say. If you know the why, the how will take care of itself. It will take care of itself. But if you don't know why, and all you concentrate on is the how you're going to say it, you're not going to get called back. You're not going to get cast, you know, unless you're Mark Wahlberg. Anyway, I'm just messing with the people who are giving me shit. Okay, so I'm just messing with you. I love you, Mark. I love you because you're from Boston. You know what's not to love about that guy?
Exactly.
So But yes, so then also about the amount of takes. If you're going to do 5 or 6 takes, do them differently. Do them differently. Try one way, try one another, and see what works best. Don't just do it 5 times the exact same way.
Right.
Well, then what's the point? And then another acting tip, try to avoid accents. If it doesn't say there's a dialect, don't do it. If it doesn't say they're from New York, don't say, I think this guy's from Brooklyn. Don't do that. I think this person's Southern. Don't do it. If it doesn't say it, don't do it. Okay?
All right. Lee says the camera. So we're talking about Zoom again. So the camera's on top of the computer. Okay. He says, but the person you're reading with on Zoom is on your screen, which means the camera is shooting slightly down your eyes. Any tips that make it look better? Also, can you change the frame of your computer besides moving the computer forward or back?
Okay.
Yeah. I have something to say on this too. Why don't you go first, Jason?
Well, first, I don't know how to change the angle of the camera without moving the computer. If you can do that on your computer, please tell me what kind of computer you have. So my computer right now is sitting on top of a box this high. So here's the rule of thumb. You want your camera to be even with your eyes. Okay, so right now, my camera's even with my eyes. So if I slink down a little bit, it's fine. If I come up a little bit, I lose my head, but you still see my eyes. You also want about an inch or 2. Now I got a huge fro right now because COVID, but so you want about an inch or 2 of air above your head. You don't want it here because then you got nothing to cut. You can't crop anything. You also don't want it here because then like, what's that? And I mean, unless you're playing this character, like if you're playing this guy, maybe this is how you want to frame it. You know, it all depends. So first, eye level for the camera. Second, you can manipulate on Zoom where the thumbnail is. So you can put it in speaker view or you can put it in gallery view. So if you put it in speaker view, then all of the other people will have small thumbnails across the top. Put it in speaker view, choose the thumbnail you want to look at, and just look at that person no matter who's speaking. So, or you can pin someone's video. So you can pin your reader's video so only they are big. So right now I'm looking at Jodie because I have her large on my screen and I'm looking right at her right now. And so this way there's not much difference where my eye's looking. I'm not looking down here, which also, here's another advantage to Zoom, everyone. And I did not put this in the PDF because it's too hard to explain. But if you're on a Zoom callback and you're working off of a script that's on a PDF, if you're using an Apple, if you're using a Mac, you can split the screen. So you've got Zoom on one side and the PDF on the other, and they're in the same window. So what you do is you scroll your PDF so that your lines are always at the top. And that way you never even have to look at your reader. You can literally just be looking at your script if that's what you need, and they have no idea. They think you're looking at the reader because you're keeping your lines all the way at the top. Again, movies are magic. They're not real. So whatever you need to do to make it work, do that. I don't care. If it works, do it.
I love it. I love it. I love having the script on the PDF and just scrolling. It's great. So yeah, and just in terms of eyeline, I have my computer up on an angle right now. I'm going to take it off just to show you guys the difference, or else we would be here.
Yep.
See how that feels so different? So I have this guy that I got on Amazon for like 20 bucks. And I can adjust the height of it, but that way it's always at my eye level, or else it feels like we're looking down at something.
Yep.
Which is weird, and it takes away power.
Now, here's the thing though. Keep it where it is, Jodie, keep it where it is. Now,
you're calling me Allie. Who's Allie?
Because Allie's on here and she keeps typing in, and I keep seeing Allie on there. So, hi Monique, I just saw your text. So Jodie, see, now look into your computer now. Yep. Now, if she's playing a character who is looking down on people, she might want to use this angle.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's the other thing about Zoom. Right. You're in control. You can manipulate your camera. Again, practice beforehand, because maybe she is that. Maybe she's this person. You know, maybe she's, you know, this person who's a mile a minute, and I don't know what to do. And see, you can see my top light right there. So maybe she's person. Guys, I don't know what we're gonna do. Maybe she's this person. You have that opportunity. Yeah. You can manipulate.
Totally. That's what's fun. I'm gonna put this back. There we go. All right, we're getting on 12:21 here. Let me just maybe do one or two more questions. Oh,
and I'd like to give them some ideas for mindset as well. So let's answer these questions, and then let me give them some tips on how to not self-sabotage themselves.
I love that. And Amber says you can also use a cookbook if you don't have that stand. Yes, Amber, you can use whatever you want.
Yeah, mine's on a Lululemon box.
On the angle. All right, so this is going back to compressing your self-tapes. Mm-hmm. Do you need to compress or transfer your self-tape, or will platforms like WeTransfer do it for you when you upload your video?
Yeah, so there are platforms that have a maximum size file, and then there's platforms that you can, for free, you can send whatever. Now, you don't need to record these on 1080p. Okay, they're automatically going to record on 1080p if you have a high def camera. But when you do it on iPhoto or iMovie and you transfer it, don't put it at 1080p. You know, you could put it at 720. You could even put it at 580 if you need to, okay? But make it as small of a file as possible because they're receiving a ton of these. So you don't want to make it too hard to download. But all of these file transfer systems, they will compress them themselves. So you don't need to physically do it. That should take a step away from you. But if you notice that your file is like 25, gigabytes, it's too big. It's just too big. You know, you gotta lower the definition, or you gotta take out that backing music that you put into your audition. You know.
Totally. Jenna says, can I record a Slate once as a separate video and then just add it to the iMovie as every self-tape?
Yes, and if you wear that same outfit and your hair looks like that every time, and if it's the same time of day. Now, most cast directors won't care. However, some casting, it will literally say in the breakdown, I do not want anything pre-recorded. It will literally say that. So if you send them a slate that you have in the can, they're going to think one of two things. Either you didn't read the instructions, which tells them something about you, or you read the instructions and ignored them, which also tells them something about you. So yes, and.
I love it. All right, so I think we get to, because I know I get to be off at 12:30. I know we've gone over, but we still have 144 people here, so I think they're liking what we're doing, Jason. But I would love for you to talk about mindset and self-sabotage. I talk about this a lot with my clients as well, and I would love for them to hear your take on all of this.
Right.
So let's jump into that.
I'm going to give you the 1, 2, 3 of this, and I also want you all to give yourselves a break, because this is not the kind of thing that you can snap your fingers and suddenly you're just the most confident person in the world. It takes time and it takes practice, like anything else. So I want you to think about, what do you think about before you put yourself on tape? Are you thinking of all of the reasons, all the things you need to change in order for them to book you? Are you thinking about, well, listen, I usually wear my hair in a ponytail, but if I wear my hair in a ponytail, they're not going to cast me. Are you thinking, okay, if I don't do this, they're not going to cast me? If you're thinking of all the reasons they won't cast you, you're already sabotaging yourself. I'll give you a quick anecdote. I was working with, I ask actors this all the time, but this one specific time, I was working with a guy in New York. I was directing him in a show off Broadway, and a great actor. I mean, his audition, I've never seen an audition that good in my life. I still, to this day, say it's the greatest audition I've ever seen. And I don't know, 3 weeks into rehearsals, he just I'm like, where is that guy? Where's that guy that just won this role? And so I asked him, I'm not going to say his name, I'll just give you the first initial M. So I said, hey M, what does this character look like? He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, what does he look like? He says, okay, well, he's 6'2". He's got very sharp features. I said, great, what color hair does he have? Well, it's kind of like a dirty blonde, but it could be brown. I said, great. And does he have an ethnicity? And we went into it. He gave me all these details. I said, great. Okay, look in the mirror. He stood in front of the mirror. And I said, how tall are you? He said, 5'9". What color's your hair? Black. What color's this? What color's that? Blah, blah, blah. So the reason he wasn't finding the character anymore is because he was doing all this character research of what he thought the character was, and it wasn't him. So he was acting like a 6'2" chiseled guy, but he's a 5'9" guy who was a little overweight and paunchy. But he got the role because of who he was, not because of who I thought I could sculpt him into. So before you audition, listen, this is not hyperbole. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to look right into the camera because I absolutely mean this. You are the only you who will ever exist. Ever. And when you die, you're extinct. There'll never be another you. So whether you're James Dean and you don't hit your 30th birthday, or you live to 105, that's all the time in the world that the world has you. So if you deprive us of that, you're depriving the world of a singular being. And I honestly believe that. So if you bring who you are, your deepest, darkest secrets, your ideas, your beliefs, your fears, if you bring that to a role, you're doing something no one else can do, because nobody can play you better than you, and nobody can play that role the way you can play it. No one. So my recommendation is, don't look at the things you have to change. Look at the things that you have to remove. Look at chip away. Say, you know what? I'm a little self-conscious in real life. You know what? I don't need to do that. Yeah. I don't tell people what I'm afraid of. You know what? I can bring my fears forward. So if you think of yourself as a cup of water, there's a good bound of that cup that no one ever gets to see, ever, because they might judge you. That's what I want to see in an audition. The part of you deep down that no one ever gets to see. Now, if it's an under 5 and your line is, I think she went over there, don't show me that part. Okay, just simply say, I think she went over there. That's your friggin' audition. Okay, you don't need to go deeply emotional into it, giving some information role. But that's the most important thing. So when you start your audition, it's, how do I know they're gonna remember this? It's not, will they remember this? Because if you say, will I remember this? Your mind says, no, they won't. Because your mind is designed to protect you. And so say, no, they won't. Yeah. But if you say, how do I know they'll remember this? Now your mind searches its vast files for evidence of why you're memorable. Oh, they're going to remember this because I'm bringing a take to this that no one else is bringing. They're going to remember this because I'm working on this because this is my job and I do my job. They're going to remember this because I'm bringing value to this role. So the question you ask yourself is how do I know this? And practice. Don't wing it. If you wing it, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're not bringing 100% to the role. And the beauty of self-taping is you're not in a room with 15 other people who all have their headshots and resumes. Some of those resumes might look a little better than yours. Some of those headshots might pop more than yours. You're not listening through that like drywall that's this thin so you can hear everyone else audition. And you're not hearing all of their choices that are different than your choices and starting to think, oh shit, should I be screaming there? Or oh shit, should I be doing that? None of that's there.
Yeah.
You're at home. So you get to make your choice. So don't think to yourself, okay, what do they want? Think, what do I want? What do I want out of this? Now, here's something I told Jodie the first time we ever worked together, because she was in that class. It was the first day of class, is imagine, and I got this from Michael Jordan. So if you haven't watched The Last Dance, it's on Netflix now, watch it, because you can apply all of it to acting. Michael Jordan played every game as if the people watching that game, that would be the only time they'd ever see him play. So when you audition, you need to treat it like this is the only tape anyone will ever see of you as an actor, ever. And if it's less than that, you didn't do your job.
I love that.
It's my personal opinion.
I love that. Jason, this has just been, that was such a great note to end on. This has been such a great webinar. I trust that you all got a lot out of this. There will be a replay of this. I'm posting this in the chat. The replay will be in my Facebook group. If you're not in there, it's the Actors Think Tank Open Community on Facebook. I invite you to join. I posted the link. I'll also include that in the follow-up email with there's 5 PDFs we're sending you now with links to a bunch of shit.
I know. So I should have put it on one PDF. I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. But I really invite you to take the time to read them. Take the time to implement them. Look at your setup. What do you have? Figure out what you're missing to make you feel good about the product that you're creating. So just because you don't need to have everything that Jason put in his PDF, you don't need to have everything in my PDF. You need to do what's right for you, but you got to take the time to figure that out. Right? And like I said earlier, business skills can be learned and practiced. And what Jason has been saying through this whole time is you got to practice your lights. You got to practice your sound. You got to practice your setup to make it yours. So then you don't have to think about it anymore. So I just invite you to take the time to do that. Jason, anything you want to leave people with before we go?
2 things. One is, it's always 2 things with me if you haven't noticed. 2 things. One is what Jodie just said. It's my belief that as an actor, you are not paid to perform. You're paid to practice. Yeah. That's what you're paid for. Performing, that's the treat. That's the gold. That's all. You're paid to practice and you're paid to wait. Okay? That's what you're paid for as an actor. So if you're auditioning, the auditioning part when you're in front of the camera should be a lot shorter than your practice time.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're paid for. If you watch sports, Tiger Woods is now trying to make a comeback. We don't see the hours and hours he spends on the driving range every day. We watch him in the tournament. When you go to a Broadway show, you don't see the hours and hours of dance calls and fight calls and pickup rehearsals and put-in rehearsals. You don't see that. You just see Hamilton. So you're paid to practice. So treat your business as if that's what you're paid to do. And then the second thing is, reach out to me. Because you're on this this webinar, just reach out to me. Send me an email. It's in the thing that you'll get. And if you want to talk to me, we'll set up a time to talk. There's no charge to talk to me. We're not going to talk for 5 hours, but I mean, just set up a time. And I'm opening up a new section and possibly 2 more sections of my class. There's a big waiting list right now, but now that we're in COVID, I'm not really going anywhere. I have time to teach again. And so for those of you who are interested, shoot me an email. And I'll send you some info. And then, 2.5 things. The half is, Jodie knows her shit. So for those of you who are part of her community, I met Jodie about 3.5 months ago, and we already have great rapport because she knows her shit. She's speaking from experience. And so,
Atticus
I
agrees.
mean, if anyone knows. So reach out to her as well, because she knows what she's talking about. She's a great resource. And the beauty of Jodie is, if she doesn't know, she knows someone who does.
Yeah. Totally.
And so continue to use her as a resource. And Jodie, thank you for having me on. I had a blast.
Yeah,
this is fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks for going over. I knew when we got two like New York energy together, we're just going to keep going. You know what I mean? So, anyway. All right. Well, thank you, Jason, so much for being here and sharing all your insight. Thank you all for tuning on in. As I said, I will be sending you an email either later today or tomorrow with all of the things in the world. And yeah, make sure to join my Facebook group to hear all the other things that I got going on for you and other offerings that I have. So I look forward to continuing this conversation, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.